Greetings, Pokefans! Michael here. Have you ever wondered what it might be like if Pokemon could have 3 types instead of 2? This should 100% never happen. Dear God, it would make the game entirely too complicated and very unbalanced because a level 100 ground, rock, fire type Pokemon could probably be OHKO'd by a level 5 Squirtle using Bubble because it would be 8 times super effective. But regardless, it's fun to think about, so I'm gonna be counting down the top 10 Pokemon that could logically have 3 types, based mainly on their biology, dex entry, and their move pools. Also, I will be paying no attention whatsoever to their competitive viability, because like I said, 3 types would make this game stupidly unbalanced. But real quick before we dive in, this video is sponsored by Amino. Amino is an app that gives you access to countless online communities that focus on pretty much any interest you could think of. Sports, books, lifestyle, TV shows, movies, and video games, including one for pretty much every Nintendo game you could think of, such as Legend of Zelda, Splatoon, Mario Kart, and of course, Pokémon, just to name a few of my faves. Within any specific Amino, you can browse a curated feed of all sorts of really interesting posts like fan art and blog posts, stuff like that, that other users have submitted, and you can of course submit your own. Plus you can vote on polls, take quizzes, and all sorts of things. It's also a really cool way to connect with people who share your interests because you can voice or text chat with pretty much any member. And their newest feature, Avatar Chat, allows you to video chat with other users using pre-made or custom-made avatars, which is very silly and lots of fun. If you want to connect with other Nintendo or Pokemon fans, Amino is definitely the best place to do so. Download it now using the link in the description below. But now that we've covered that, be sure to leave a like on the video, comment below some of your predictions, and subscribe if you haven't already. And without further ado, here are the top 10 Pokemon that could possibly have 3 types. Number 10, Onix. Onix is a rock and ground type Pokemon, but he could very easily be a rock, ground, and bug type Pokemon. Why are you guys giving me those confused looks? He's clearly a caterpillar. The actual number 10, Celebi. Celebi is a grass and psychic type Pokemon, which makes sense. It has time travel powers, which is very psychic-y, and it goes around through different time periods, saving forests, which is very grassy. However, if Celebi were a grass, psychic, and fairy type Pokemon, I don't think anyone would bat an eye. I mean, just look at this thing. It's clearly a literal fairy. It's got wings and everything. I do have to admit, the only fairy type move it can learn is Dazzling Gleam, so that's why it's lower on this list, but just look at it. I am convinced that if the fairy type was around when Celebi was introduced, it would be a grass fairy type Pokemon today and probably have more fairy type moves in its moveset. But nowadays, since it's already a psychic type, I don't think adding fairy type would turn a lot of heads. Number 9, the non-dragon dragons. Several Pokemon are going to be included in this entry because they're pretty much the same situation for all of them, and I didn't feel like I should take up more than one spot on this list for Pokemon who are the same scenario. Charizard and Gyarados are 2 Pokemon that have long been teased for not being dragon types, especially compared to Alolan Exeggutor. They look like dragons, they learn a lot of dragon type moves, and they are used by dragon type specialists. However, they are not the only ones. There are several Pokemon out there that have the appearance of dragon types and were used at some point by at least one dragon type specialist, Lance, Claire, or Iris. All 4 of Drasna's Pokemon were actually dragon types, so she doesn't count here. Those Pokemon are Charizard, Gyarados, Aerodactyl, Lapras, Aggron, and Archeops. Any of those 6 Pokemon could have the dragon type added to their existing typings, and it would make a lot of sense. Number 8, Braviary. Virtually every fighting type Pokemon has arms. All the better to karate chop you with. The only exception to that is the Swords of Justice, but I would like to see more exceptions, because to me, the fighting type shouldn't represent just punching and kicking. it should represent a warrior's spirit and combat prowess, and few Pokemon are better representatives of that than Braviary. Its black version Pokédex entry reads, "They fight for their friends without any thought about danger to themselves," while its white entry reads, "The more scars they have, the more respect these brave soldiers of the sky get from their peers." The only fighting type attacking move it can learn is Superpower, which is so dumb because if Staraptor can learn close combat, Braviary should definitely be able to, but nevertheless, it would make a lot of sense for Braviary to be a normal flying fighting type. Number 7, Lugia. You've likely heard countless times how stupid it is that Lugia is a psychic flying type instead of a water flying type, considering that it is the diving Pokemon, and according to its Silver Dex entry, it is said to be the guardian of the seas. It is rumored to have been seen on the night of a storm. So it probably comes as little surprise to you that I think it'd make perfect sense if Lugia was a psychic flying water type Pokemon. It's already psychic type and learns a lot of psychic type attacks. It can create storm force winds and can fly, and it is the guardian of the seas. Not really much else to say here other than to reiterate that the fact it was never water type at all at any point is comically dumb. Number 6, Dragalge. Another aquatic Pokemon that isn't water type is Dragalge, or as my old roommate Sam called it, Dragalge. Skrelp is a poisonous seahorse, hence the fact that it is poison water type. Makes perfect sense. However, when it evolves, it gains dragon properties that somehow trump the fact that it continues to be 100% aquatic and learns more water type moves by level up than dragon type moves. I'm not saying it shouldn't be dragon type, it clearly has dragon type properties, but the fact that it isn't water type at all isn't very logical, so it being a dragon poison water type Pokemon would make perfect sense. Number 5, the non-flying flyers. There are a lot of Pokemon out there that can fly, which is honestly a good thing because back in the HM days, it means you didn't have to look that hard to find a Pokemon that could give you some pretty quick transport. However, there are a lot of Pokemon out there that can fly, actually learn the move fly, and are constantly above the ground, but they can still get hit by ground type moves because they're not flying type Pokemon or they don't have Levitate. Just a few of the many examples are Beedrill, Mega Altaria, Garchomp, Golurk, Volcarona, Decidueye, Ribombee, Naganadel, and there are many more. Any of these Pokemon could have flying type added to their existing dual typing, and it would be extremely logical. Number 4, Kamo-O. Kamo-O should clearly be a dragon fighting type Pokemon. It is obviously a dragon, and it battles using its arms and fists like a martial artist. However, another big aspect of its design is its scales. And do you know what those scales are made of? Its Ultra Moon Dex entry reads, "It battles valiantly with its fists, which are armored in steel scales." Kamo-O specializes in uppercuts. Since its body is covered in scales that we now know are made of steel, plus it can already learn several steel type moves, Kamo-O being a dragon fighting steel type Pokemon would be very logical. Number 3, Drapion. Another Pokemon whose type has confused people for years is Drapion. It starts out as Scorpii, a bug poison type Pokemon, which makes sense since it's based on a scorpion, which is a bug, it's an arachnid, which so are spiders, so it still counts as a bug, and it has poisonous venom in its stingers, so bug poison type makes perfect sense. However, once Scorpii evolves, apparently the fact that it gets a lot more angry and aggressive trumps the fact that it's still a freaking scorpion. Drapion also learns a lot of bug-type moves, and it's even the strongest Pokemon of the bug-type specialist, Aaron. Clearly, Drapion being dark poison bug-type would make perfect sense. Number 2, Incineroar. Alright, Sun and Moon design team, we need to come up with a design for Litten's final evolution to put into the upcoming Pokemon Sun and Moon games. Any suggestions? So what about some sort of cool quadruped saber-toothed tiger type Pokemon with the stripes and it still has the flames on its back?
That is absolutely terrible. Anyone else?
Ooh, what if we make him a wrestler?
That's perfect!
Are you kidding me? We just did 3 consecutive generations of firefighting type starters. I know Delphox was a mistake, but like, I don't think that means we should be reactionary and go straight back to firefighting starters. Oh, but this one's not firefighting type. He's angry. So he's a dark type. But he's still a wrestler, and this moveset you came up with is chocked full of fighting type moves.
Shut up, Jenkins. Fire Dark Incineroar it is.
See what I'm getting at here? Clearly Game Freak has not gotten over their firefighting type starter obsession, so they're just covering their butts with Incineroar by making him Fire Dark type. Honestly, Fire Dark fighting type for Incineroar makes far more sense. Before we get to number 1, here are some honorable mentions. The first being Vibrava and Flygon, who could easily be Ground, Dragon, Bug type because they are based on Antlions, which are bugs. Noctowl could be normal flying psychic type because the majority of its level up moveset are psychic type moves. I still don't know why it's not a psychic type. Jellicent could be water, ghost, grass type because he is the Pringles man, and Pringles are potato chips, which come from potatoes, which are plants. Number 1, Cradilly. I have never liked the fact that every single fossil Pokemon has to be a rock type. Yes, fossils are organic matter that through compression and time have turned to stone. But once those fossils are turned back into living creatures, they're not rocks anymore. Yes, there are some prehistoric Pokemon that have rocks as part of their biology, so it makes sense, like Rampardos or Bastiodon. But there are a lot of prehistoric Pokemon that really don't need to be rock type. But since this could technically be explained with the idea that being revived from a fossil leaves residual rock type whatever stuff in their bodies, I'll count it here. But there are definitely several fossil Pokemon that were 100% dual type back in the day, but had to sacrifice one of those types for rock type. And Cradilly is the best example. Its Y version dex entry reads, it ensnares prey with its 8 tentacles. It then melts the prey with a strong acid before feeding. And its Emerald dex entry reads, it drags its heavy body along the sea floor. It makes its nests in the shallows of warm seas. Cradilly can be seen on beaches when the tide goes out. So if Cradilly has to keep the rock type, it could be rock, grass, poison because of the digestive fluid acids that it uses to hunt, or it could be rock, grass, water because it lives on the ocean floor. But if we don't have to keep the rock type, it could definitely be a grass, poison, water type. Because it has several different 3-type combinations, Cradilly is a firm number 1 spot on this list. Heck, it would make sense for this Pokemon to have 4 types, and I don't think any other Pokemon could hold a tentacle to that. So there we have it. Those are top 10 Pokemon that could have 3 types. Like I said, this should never happen, but it's fun to think about regardless. What did you think of this video? Do you agree with my list? What are some other Pokemon you think could logically have 3 types that I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments below! And if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. I make fun Pokemon videos all the time that I am sure you will enjoy. Also turn on notifications, because YouTube's lame sometimes. Alright, that's all I have for now. So until next time, Poke fans, gotta catch them all!